Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news show, and just Premier League chit chat show as we do in our live streams. And I tell you what, it is so important we get 3 points tomorrow. One, because we've dropped a lot of points recently to Palace, Leeds, and of course Arsenal. But two, rivals are dropping points. Newcastle 1-1 versus Bournemouth as it stands. I do think Newcastle will turn that around and win the game. They are just a lot better than Bournemouth. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you guys. We're going to look at the results and we're going to talk about Man City potentially getting a transfer ban. There's sort of more suggestions that Man City will get a transfer ban instead of a points deduction. And then we're going to talk about Sir Jim, obviously. Basically, news coming out that the Qatar bid will be higher than Sir Jim's bid from some sources as well. But I want to deep dive into this. I want to look at the Premier League table. I want to talk about today's matches today. And it's been good. Arsenal dropping points. I don't think we're in a title race. I think had we beaten Arsenal and maybe not dropped points to Palace or Leeds, we'd have 5 more points, and then we would be in a title race with Arsenal play City twice. I think we are. I don't see Arsenal dropping that many points for us to be in a title race. I don't think we've got the depth to be in a title race. But Arsenal drop points. We start off with Chelsea dropping points to West Ham. I tell you what, not relevant. But did anyone see that Chelsea fan on Twitter just get knocked out by a West Ham fan, and then they were wheeling him in a wheelchair after? I have to admit, that guy got knocked out. But we had Chelsea obviously dropping points. We had obviously Arsenal dropping points. Antony, fucking monster. And then obviously we had Tottenham. I mean, this is the best bit of the day. I tell you what, it's annoying. Leicester have scored 8 goals in the last 2 games. Trust Leicester to be shit all season. They play Man United next. We don't have Casemiro, and all of a sudden Leicester are scoring goals. Leicester barely scored all season. They scored 8 goals in the last 2 games, and they're going to play United without Casemiro next. I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, talk about timing. Couldn't have gone any worse, but 4-1 to Leicester. I mean, that's not very good for Spurs. James Maddison, I watched a bit of it. Absolute baller. James Maddison, top player, someone that United should get. And as Alex B said, Chelsea nearly $1 billion spent and they can't get a win. Chelsea, to this day, still have more players signed than wins this season. They signed more players than they have wins this season. And we drew with Leicester last time. I think we beat them 1-0, but then I think we drew last time before that. But Leicester is a very difficult game, I will tell you that now. Nothing will happen with City yet. Been said it could take up to 4 years before anything happens, and that is true. City reportedly going to get a transfer ban over points deduction, but nothing might happen as of yet as well. And title talk isn't helpful for us. As comfortable top 4 should be our aim. Exactly. I'd love to be in a title race, but top 4 should be our aim. And do you think Qatar will bid 6 billion? No, I think they'll probably bid a little over 4 billion, but be the highest bidder. I don't think anyone will bid 6 billion. But it was said that Qatar bidding 6 billion, then playing 2 billion to do up Old Trafford, revamp it, and pay off the debt. 8 billion is fine for Qatar. But obviously, going back to the Premier League, Tottenham get battered. As of now, I think Newcastle will win and probably go above us, but we still go above Newcastle. If you look at the Premier League here, if we look at the table, still can't see Liverpool. Where are Liverpool? I didn't even do that on purpose. You can't see Liverpool because they're shit. But it's the thing is annoying is if Casemiro hadn't got suspended versus Palace the first game, and we'd have beaten Palace and we'd have gone to Arsenal with Casemiro and beaten Arsenal, right now we could have 48 points and Arsenal could have 48 points, and we could have played one more game more than Arsenal and been joint top of the league with the way things have gone. But unfortunately that didn't happen, so we can only if but wish and maybe we aren't in a title race. But in terms of top 4, looking more comfortable. I think it will be difficult, but I think we'll beat Leeds. I think we'll be up for revenge. I don't think we'll drop points to Leeds twice in a row. If we beat Leeds tomorrow, we'll go on to 46 points, temporarily above Man City, who will probably not drop points again. But we will go into 46 points. But why it's important that we go on to 46 points is because that would put us exactly 7 points clear of Spurs if we can go on to 46 points. 7 points ahead of Spurs in the race for top 4. And that would mean that with 15 games to go, we'd have to drop 7 points. And we will play Spurs and we will play Newcastle again, and we will play Brighton and Brentford and Fulham again, and Chelsea again at big teams. We've already played Chelsea and we've already played Arsenal twice. So going into the following games, Man United will be favourites. So the way I look at it is 7 points ahead of Spurs, 15 points left, will be favourites. United, unless something catastrophic happens like Rashford injury, Casemiro injury, where they're out longer, very much, in my opinion, on track for top 4. Very much in a good position for top 4. And I think it's just good that rivals are dropping points. And I have to say, the bottom of the league is getting really interesting. Hopefully we beat Leeds so they can be more in a relegation battle. Everton winning. Bournemouth obviously could get a point here. Southampton were almost beating Wolves. West Ham got a point. Wolves got a win. Forest are getting some wins lately. Leicester climbing up. This from sort of Leicester onwards, very interesting. And then you've got your mid-table teams like Chelsea, Liverpool, Villa here. Not really any competition for top 4. It is I think it's going to be between Tottenham, Newcastle, and Man United for that 4th spot. And I do think as of now, United look comfortable in terms of getting that 4th spot as well. We're going to talk about Sir Jim Ratcliffe because Alex B says no to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. As soon as I read talk of those loans taken out, I've got a no. And I'm a big no to Sir Jim Ratcliffe because it's basically, I get that in business people do take loans to do things and that is perfectly normal. But I just think my thought process is I do not want to, let me just get my headphones, sorry. I do not want Man United to have more debt and be brought on a leveraged buyout again and all of that. We've had that with the Glazers and, Sir Jim, he's all right at Nice. But people saying all Qatar sports washing and that. But I don't trust Sir Jim's intentions. I don't one bit. I'm just putting my headphones on because we're gonna have a guest join later. I'm not the biggest fan of Sir Jim borrowing money to take over United, but reportedly his bid is expected. I'm going to get into that now, actually. I'm going to get to that news now. So reportedly Sir Jim's bid is expected to be 4 billion, while they expect something like 6 billion from Qatar. So they do expect the Qatar to bid more than Sir Jim as well. And again, as said, our biggest obstacles fatigue and lack of depth as well. And I think United will get top 4, but it just depends on fatigue, lack of depth, injuries. All of that kind of links in as well, as said. And I do think we will get top 4, but I do think if we do get a catastrophic injury, do not turn on Ten Hag. It's not his fault. The Glazers didn't back him in January. They bought him Wout Weghorst, who's done nothing really. Look at João Felix balling up for Chelsea. Sometimes I sit here and go, imagine if we'd have got João Felix, because yes, the loan fee for João Felix was extortionate, but realistically, that was Ronaldo's wages. So as well, Sir Jim Glazer as well, yeah. And loads taken out needs to be paid back one way or another and still could mean restricted investment. Exactly. And there are a report coming out that I read today, actually, that if Sir Jim takes over Manchester United, essentially we wouldn't be able to spend big in the summer unless we got top 4 and we sold a lot of players. Whereas if Qatar came into Man United, they have the money to spend big in the summer. And Diego says consistency in the results is key. And it's this point of time. I hope we are out versus Barca so we can focus on Premier League. Some people want us out versus Barca. I want us to win the lot. I think I would sacrifice the FA Cup. I love the Europa League. I want to beat Barcelona. It's a big game. Casemiro will be rested for Barcelona. I'm still, to this day, absolutely pissed off about that Lisandro Martinez is suspended for that Barcelona game, because there was no way in hell that he got 3 yellow cards. None of them should have been yellow cards as well. But in my opinion, I would not want to lose to Barcelona. Rivals, got to beat Barcelona. I'm really up for the Barcelona game. I'm up for the win. If I wanted to lose a game, it'd be FA Cup, but I'd still play to win, but I would play the UCL they do and rest in the FA Cup. I think we've got West Ham in the FA Cup. I think they might rest as well, because potentially, they aren't in the top 4 race. But anyway, continuing on. Let's get into the news, because I haven't actually got the news up on my screen. So let's actually get into the news about the kind of bids coming in and what's expected and all of that as well. And then we'll get into the news on Man City transfer ban. But coming up with this first of all as well. Oh, I didn't mean to type V in. I meant to type Control V in to paste some of the news into the chat there. So the news coming in is, and we'll zoom in on that so it's a bit bigger for you guys. Is Twitter changed the font, or does that look different to me? I don't know. Just in, at the moment, Sir Jim Ratcliffe does not want to offer more than 4 billion to buy the club. The asking price set by the club is 6 billion. So reports are coming in that Sir Jim Ratcliffe will not pay more than 4 billion to buy the club. And to be fair to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the club is not worth more than 4 billion. The Glazers are stingy. Now, this report continued up by saying, by Santi, that the real will is from the Qataris to buy United, and that the Emir of Qatar does not just want to buy shares in United, but he wants the whole club. They're saying Sir Jim won't pay more than 4 billion. The real belief is that the Qataris will. The report says Sir Jim might pay 4 billion. There's belief that the Qataris could pay above 4 billion could spend more than Jim Ratcliffe and pay up to £6 billion for United. Now, of course, all of this news, could be PR spin being blown out of proportion. We know that journalists like to lie to us. We know that journalists are incredibly clickbait. But I do think in terms of a bidding war, the Qataris would outbid Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And what we're finding out today is that the Qataris are serious about the full sale of Man United. They want to own both. They're not interested in a partial stake. It's the full sale and the full sale only. And we obviously know, if you watched my video earlier, that Qatar are expected to have the strongest bid, beating Jim Ratcliffe's £4 billion offer. I will get that news up here. But it said that Qatar are stepping up ahead of buying United. They're trying to get this deal done fast. They want to work at speed. And it's expected that Qatar will have the strongest offer. And this is what we spoke about in my video earlier, which kind of links to obviously the news that Sir Jim isn't expected to go over £4 billion. It's obviously Mike Keegan, who's been given a lot of updates on the situation, saying the expectation is that Qatar investors will make the strongest offer and the bid is working at speed. So it's looking positive for Qatar, but I always say this, just because it's looking positive for Qatar doesn't mean we'll get Qatar. I don't trust the Glazers. I don't trust that the Glazers will sell us to anyone that would be good for us. Like, I have no faith in the Glazers. I'll be honest with you, I would not be totally shocked if, they did get an offer for a partial stake and they wanted a partial stake because they're greedy. Like nothing would shock me with the Glazers. Now, I do think that the full sale will happen because the Rain Group's saying that the goal was to oversee the full sale, and all the reliable journalists are saying the full sale was more likely. So I do think the full sale of Man United will be the case. I think that will be the situation. However, and although it's all sort of heading towards Qatar this, Qatar that, you just never know with the Glazers. You never know with Jim Ratcliffe. These American investors that are in for United haven't actually, been stated yet. So there is always, I guess, that fear as well. Huge news: Spurs fear Bentancur could be an MCL or ACL rupture. So that would be a big miss for Tottenham Hotspur. And look, I don't like players getting injured, but when you're in a top four race and Tottenham are getting injuries and the January transfer window is just closed, lol. Not lol, it's actually really sad, but it is better for us as well. And the problem is when you look at what Chelsea went for and that recent NFL club sold, that inflates our price so much more. And that's the reason I think the Glazers are selling. I think the Glazers have known for a while that they've got to sell United. I think the Glazers have been in a position where they've known for quite a long time, they kind of need to cash in on United. Now is the time to sell United. United have not really been near the level they need to be. They couldn't take dividends out this year because the investment return on Manchester United's not been as high. £2 billion needs to go on Old Trafford, paying off the debt. Newcastle getting taken over. Rivals are just getting taken over, richer and richer. You've got to spend more and more to keep up with the Premier League and all of that. More and more money needs to be spent to keep up with the rest of the Premier League. That I think the Glazers kind of came to the conclusion that actually they probably have to sell Man United sometime soon. And then they see Chelsea for sale and they see the kind of offers Chelsea are getting. And then we know in the summer they had a lot of meetings about the sale of United. We were reporting that Man United might be sold in the summer on this channel. If you've followed my channel since summer, way before November, I was talking about, look, there's rumours going around that the Glazers haven't talked to selling. I was sitting here in August, September, guys, saying there's rumours that the Glazers had meeting about selling the club, because they probably looked at Chelsea and they probably thought, look at the money that Chelsea getting offered. And then they saw that Liverpool had gone up for sale and they were like, well, we need to beat Liverpool to these next round of strong offers. We're never probably going to get this kind of money again. The investment for the Middle East World Cup, crazy. They go to the World Cup, they talk with these Middle Eastern billionaires. They're probably going in there really hoping that they can probably get a minority stake and keep their control and power at United. But I don't think anyone's stupid enough to give the Glazers a minority stake if they're still the ones making the decisions at United, because they're not good businessmen and they've been looking for a minority stake for 3-4 years, and that's been very public that they've needed investment for 3-4 years. And I think they thought maybe the time is now. I think we know that Darcy and Kevin Glazer were really, really fed up with all the protests, how we attack their business. Us fans, I tell you what, we do our thing. Us fans attacking the sponsorships, attacking the other Glazer siblings. Like, it's Joe and Avram that want to keep United and the rest of the Glazers want it sold. It's Joe and Avram that want that minority kind of stake, and the rest of the Glazers want the full sale, because the rest of the Glazers were saying, and this came out by Mike Keegan, that there's so much unrest with the fans. They keep attacking us. They keep attacking our business. Let's be done with United. Let's have the full sale. We're done with the fan outrage. And Joe and Avi are a bit like, oh, but we don't know if we want the full sale. We can get a minority stake. Now, I don't think we'll get a minority stake because we've been looking for one for years and we've needed investment for years. I think we probably put the club up for sale because we saw the money Chelsea were getting, but I do think they would have had to put the club up for sale in the next few years. There's rumours that they might want to delay the sale because Ten Hag's doing well, and we know that the stock price obviously goes up and the value of Man United goes up when we're playing well, and they might potentially see it like that, but I think, the Rain Group says the goal was to oversee the full sale. I think the only way the Glazers stay here is if someone is stupid enough to offer the minority investment. The question is, they're saying, oh, we want 6 billion and we won't sell. That's a farce. I reckon if they got 5 billion, they would sell. I reckon they're just doing that to try and attract higher and higher bidders. And I think Jim Ratcliffe will start at 4 billion, and the report is that Qatar will outbid Jim Ratcliffe and are believed to have the strongest bid, but we don't know what the Saudi and US's intention are. We only really know about Qatar and Sir Jim. We don't know what the Saudi and US intentions are, and I think that will emerge as of this week. As I said, this time next week, the deadline for bids will have been done, so we'll kind of have an indication this time next week of who's put the bids in and all of that, who's the strongest, who's leading the race, what direction it's going to go. So as I've said before, make sure you subscribe because there will be lots of updates coming in on the Glazers and the new ownership of United over the coming days as well. Daniel said, glad Tottenham lost 4-1. That was, I'm very glad Tottenham lost 4-1, and they're obviously getting injuries as well. Tottenham could be in some trouble as well. And we're only worth 4 billion anyway. Glazers scumbags will just go for the highest bidder. The sooner they get out of the club, the better. Absolutely spot on, says Carl. And that's the annoying thing, is they just want to make money. And it's like, I was sitting here, and I don't know if you watched my video earlier, guys, but I was just sitting there and I thought, is 4 billion not enough for you? Is the 4 billion not enough? Like, it's 4 billion. Who the fuck says no to 4 billion pounds? How much of a greedy bastard do you have to be to say, nah, 4 billion's not enough? The only reason they want 5-6 billion is so they can go and brag to that ugly little American investor ratty friends saying, oh, look how much we got for United. United's the most valuable, record-breaking, blah, 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 ever. It's 4 fucking billion. If someone said to me, you could get 4 billion, or you could wait a few years, try and hold out for 6 billion, but the 6 billion is not guaranteed, I'd be like, why? What am I actually going to need with that extra 2 billion? Am I going to spend 4 billion in my lifetime? No. So why would I need another 2 billion? I'm not that greedy. I'd be fucking hell. I'll be gassed. I'll be chuffed. I'll be saying 4 billion. That's well what it's worth. It's not like we're getting underpaid. It's not like we're getting mugged off. It is worth just under 4 billion. That's 4 billion. I just think how greedy have you got to be like, nah, fuck off. I want 6 bill. So seriously, how greedy you have to be? Who says no to 4 billion? Our owners. It just sums up how greedy our owners are. They're absolute bastards, aren't they? Absolute bastards. But continuing on as well. As it goes, Stoke do have billionaire owners, but restricted from spending by FFP. Does Stoke have billionaire owners? I don't know that. The thing is, as well, people talk about, oh, we could get billionaire owners, but, FFP, will Qatar do a Man City? Will we get in trouble? Will we get banned? Man United generates so much money. I mean, Man City claim they generate more than United, but realistically, do they as well? And Joel Glazer shouldn't be anywhere near the football club. He's a scumbag, says Gaz. Absolutely as well. And yes, sell Man United to a rich billionaire. I mean, United's going to go to a rich billionaire. You have to be a billionaire to buy United. But some billionaires are shit. Some billionaires are good. But I say today, I feel Qatari. They are the billionaires that I want. Because not that I know what everyone's intention is, but Jim Ratcliffe wanting to buy the club with loans, take out a loan to buy the club, big red flag, getting the ick from Jim Ratcliffe. Qatar saying their intention is they want to buy the club quickly so they can back Ten Hag in the summer and make United a superpower like they've kind of done with PSG. That's a green flag for me. Okay, look, I know there's obviously, but some owners are morally better than average and all of that, mate. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. Look, the human rights, I get it. And look, no billionaire is perfect. No billionaire has a clean slate. But I do not understand, how you could want the Glazers over Qatar. I physically do not understand that. And I see all these top reds bigging up Jim Ratcliffe, saying, oh, Jim Ratcliffe's the guy for United, la-di-la-di-la, just because he's from Manchester, and saying, oh, Qatar sports washing and stuff. But I'm thinking, have you seen Jim Ratcliffe? He's not perfect. He does a bit of sports washing. Jim Ratcliffe's a bit dodgy, and Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy the club in a leveraged buyout with bankers, what the Glazers done. I don't understand how people, I don't understand how people are gassing up Jim Ratcliffe and then saying Qatar is sports washing. At the end of the day, look, we're all gonna have different opinions on who should be the owners of United. But I'll be honest. I'll be selfish. I'll be selfish. I don't care what background the owners come with, and that might be controversial. I literally right now I've had so much shit with the Glazers that I am like, you know what? I might sound like a dick, but I just want whoever's going to be the best for United. I want whoever's going to do what they can to make this club at the top again. Liverpool and City never see Premier League trophies again. I like that's just my whole thought process on the owners. I think all billionaires are a bit scummy. All billionaires are a bit dodgy. They're billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires. And I just think you just got to have to do and go for the one that you think is the best as well. But I just think owner-wise, I would take Qatar. I think they would be the best for United, and I think they would want to take us to the top. Don't like Jim Ratcliffe, and do not want the Glazers. But we've got a guest in Planet Faz here. I'm going to add him into the stream. One second, let me just get my headphones on. Hey Faz, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you, Alice? Hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks. We're just talking about reports about Jim Ratcliffe versus Qatar. Jim expected to not go above 4 billion. The belief is Qatar will probably go maybe to 6 billion, be the strongest bid. And obviously, like, who would we rather have, Jim or Qatar? I'm personally team Qatar over Jim. I was just wondering what your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think listen, everybody deep down inside, they know they would want Qatar as well. First and foremost, what I want to say is Jim Ratcliffe is a liar. He is a absolute liar. He's snaky. He has snaky behavior. I do not trust him one bit. I'll be honest with you, Alice, at the start, when he made his intentions public, ever since then, I have been on the back foot when it comes to Jimmy Ratcliffe. I'll tell you why. Which kind of billionaire needs media attention to go and buy a club? If you're a serious billionaire, you knock on the door and you go and put your offer in. He was doing too much media malarkey and I didn't like it. I never trusted him from the get-go. It seemed like he was doing photo shoots outside Old Trafford. He was doing YouTube stuff. I just didn't, I'm not with it. I like serious people who go to the Glazers directly, who say, here's my cash, here's the proof of funds, here you go. And the fact is, right, Alice, he said, or part of his consortium or his plan was to do fan ownership. Well, what kind of fan ownership is this? If the same way Glazers bought the club, you want to buy the club the same way. It's illegal to buy a football club like that in the Premier League. So in essence, he's going to be Glazers 2.0. Just using bankers. Yeah, I need someone who can come in and bring their own funds and their own initiative to inject cash into this club. Also, right, go and check, right, if you're a Jim Ratcliffe fan, which is fair, right, no problem. Please go and check his CV of how he runs a club. Go and look at OG Nice and what he has done. Has he transformed that club from when he had bought it? No, he hasn't. Nice is still the same that it was before Jimmy brought it. And Jimmy's supposed to be a football fan and someone who can do things in the football world. Well, why hasn't he done it with OG Nice? You haven't. Please tell me, in the last 5 years since he's bought OG Nice, have you heard anything about them doing extraordinary stuff?
No.
All you have to do, right, it's very basic research. Just go on Twitter, find an OG Nice fan, have a conversation with them, and guess what? They will tell you themselves. Well, we're not any better than before. What's the difference? And on top of that, Man United is such a big job. It's such a big project. It's probably the biggest project in football that anybody could take on. And you want him to do this when his CV doesn't say it anyways. Listen, love is all good, but as I like to call it, love don't pay the bills. I'll be honest with you. And love is not going to clear our debt and all of that stuff. We need to go to the level that we want to go in a way which is sustainable and which is quick at the same time. And the people that can do that is the Qataris. They bring hard cash. They like to compete. We know that. Qataris and the Middle Easterns, they like to compete against each other. They would want the best as soon as possible. And they would want it done as quick and as efficiently as possible as well. Nothing will be a no. You want the best stadium? No problem. You want the best players? No problem. You want the best facilities for players and women, football and youth? No problem. And that's what we want. And what is this thing about morality? Which club in this Premier League or in this world are morally correct? Please name me.
Literally, what I was trying to say. Like, all owners, all billionaires are going to come with something that's a bit, you're like, iffy. And I'm like, I see these top reds, they're saying all against Qatar and all of that. And I'm thinking, have you looked at Jim Ratcliffe's background? Do you think Jim Ratcliffe morally is much better? I'm thinking, first of all. And then second of all, you know, I couldn't believe it. I saw people when the Qatar news came out last week saying they'd rather have the Glazers than Qatar as owners of United. And I thought, how can you be a United fan and rather Glazers than Qatar? The way I look at it is, like, I look at Qatar and I look at a football club and I go, all billionaires probably got something behind them that's a bit dodgy. No one's morally perfect, especially if you're a billionaire. But I think Qatar would take United. I know that Middle Eastern Arab owners, if you stereotype them, are good owners. Every kind of Middle East oil takeover has been owners that prioritize football, because the Middle East, from what I'm hearing, from what we saw at the World Cup, incredibly passionate about football. They love football, you know, whereas like American owners, they seem to be like more investing, as we see with the Glazers. And I care about United so much, and I want what's best for United. And I trust that. I believe, like, Jim Ratcliffe's given me red flags. Literally everything you were saying, what he's done at Nice, like the way he wants to take over the club, the way he's like doing all this PR and publicity. It's almost like that's a red flag for me with Jim Ratcliffe. Qatar, been very, very, very quiet on it. We know they've got the money. We know that obviously it's a slightly different party to PSG, but similar kind of thing. We've seen what they've done at PSG. We know that Arab owners, oil-rich owners, just have been very good in football. They're passionate about football. I see Qatar, and I believe, I could be wrong, we could get played, but the story's coming out. They want a full sale only. They've got 335 billion. They want to take United to the top. They want to get the sale done quick so they can back Ten Hag. My belief is Jim Ratcliffe comes in, does all these loans. We're in debt, can't spend in the summer. You know, he doesn't have the money available. Qatar would come in and they would spend, back Ten Hag. And my belief, without a doubt, Qatar would be probably the best owners for United.
Yeah, 100%. I'm told. And listen, you know, sure, you could say, so the person with the most money might be the best person for the club, but that might not be the case. Look, a lot of football club owners, they're not hundreds of billions in, right? The Sheikh Al Tamim, who's the head of this QIA, he himself is net worth around 2.5 billion, but the organization he comes with is worth 355 billion. But you have to look at it this way. I personally wouldn't have mind Jim Ratcliffe. He doesn't need the most money, Alice, because Manchester United make all the money. We make every penny in the club, and our club is fully capable of sustaining it itself. With the biggest football organization in the world, we don't need owners to pump huge sums of money. We just need them to run the club accordingly. But my main issue with Jim is, why are you involving banks? I thought you had consortium. I thought you had people with you who are willing to take the club out of the rut that it is in, and then let us run itself. Just give us the keys. Just give Ten Hag the keys. Put someone proper, put a proper DOF, put a proper CEO, and let them run it, and they will do perfectly fine. You won't even need to do any other work. Why has he gone and brought the banks? He knows. Jim Ratcliffe knew why we hate the Glazers. He knows. He's fully aware. He sees the protests, yet he still wants to bring in bankers, and that's where I draw the line. I can't have that. We want to go away from bankers. That's the most important thing for me, anyways.
Yeah, and my number one priority is, before anything, get the Glazers out. Do not want a minority stake. I want new owners in. Like, I just feel like surely whoever we get surely is going to be an improvement on the Glazers. Surely it's going to be an improvement on the Glazers. Jim Ratcliffe will be an improvement on the Glazers. You know, yes, he's involved in banks. Yes, he's annoying. He will be an improvement on the Glazers. But it's also, as you kind of said, it's not always about who's got the most money. It's their plans to run the club as well. You know, you see Brighton, very well-run club. You know, Benfica, Ajax, again, very well-run clubs. Monaco have been quite well-run in the past. You know, my thing is, you know, Jim Ratcliffe might not have the level of money that Qatar have. But if you got a consortium together, he's got enough money to own United, because United generates crazy amounts. And it's about what he would do with United. Would he get a good CEO, good director of football, all of that, rebuild the club, rebuild the structure, back Ten Hag, get the right people in, like maybe steal like Michael Edwards, who was at Liverpool, Paul Mitchell, you know, that kind of structure. And that would be brilliant. But my fear with Jim Ratcliffe is he's not done anything at Nice, as you said. that makes me think that he would take over United and do something super smart. Even though he supports United allegedly and really cares about United, you know, I'm still not like 100% sold on would he be a good owner or not. If it's him or the Glazers, 100% taking him though.
Listen, at the end of the day, if Jim Ratcliffe brought his own cash and put it on the table, we all would have been fine. And Manchester United is such a big organization. I think anybody would be a fan.
Yeah.
Even the most non-fan owner would want to be a fan of man. I mean, we've heard this now that one of the sheikhs who won from the Qatari consortium is a fan of Manchester United, the Al Tamim. Yeah. You heard the Newcastle owners. They were a fan of Manchester United.
Yeah.
Everybody's a fan. Listen, we're a global brand. We've got probably the richest history in English football, and in Europe as well. So I'm sure that anybody would want to become a fan of us. It's like, I like to call it arranged marriage, and you eventually fall in love. But for me, I just hope the Qataris can come through and the Glazers sell. And let's be honest, the Saudis got Newcastle on a very cheap deal. The Qataris got PSG on a very cheap deal. So they would be looking at a deal. Let's be honest, Qataris have money, but they're not idiots. They don't just splurge for the sake of splurging. We're looking at how Newcastle are doing business. Very shrewd, very careful, not brash in the market, not going crazy on players. You see PSG as well, actually. Alice, PSG are doing some good business as well. They've got their big name signings, but they've also had some decent players in the midfield, in the defense. They've brought some good players. They've obviously let their keeper go as well. They're doing good business. The Qataris know how to run an organization. They turned PSG into the biggest brand in terms of clothing. They've turned a football club into a marketable clothing brand. I mean, imagine that with the Jordan as well. And imagine what they could do with Manchester United.
Exactly. I just think, for me, Qatari would be the best. And also, I wanted to talk, sort of change topic a little bit, but I wanted to talk about Weghorst, because I was sort of saying today, one of the main reasons we need the Glazers out is because look at January. Chelsea done a madness. Arsenal brought in players. Spurs brought in players. Liverpool even signed Gakpo. And I'm obviously that I get that United didn't have much money. But I'm thinking, and I get that the João Felix loan fee was a bit extortionate, but the money we saved in Ronaldo's wages was more than it would cost to bring João Felix to United. So we did have the money for João Felix. I see João Felix play for Chelsea today. I think he's quite good. I think we should have just took the risk, overpaid on Felix's loan, and got him instead of Wout Weghorst. I don't know what your opinion is on Wout Weghorst, how you're feeling about him. Is the criticism unfair because he gets no service?
The criticism on Wout Weghorst isn't unfair. You must call it as it is. He's not a Manchester United player. He's a Glazer signing. It's because we don't have money. That's the main way to. That's the only way to put it. Why do we like to sugarcoat our bad players that we signed? We did that with Igalo. We did that, even though Fellaini, I rate Fellaini, we did that with all the players. We just love sugarcoating Glazer signings to make ourselves feel better almost. We do it. Oh, Weghorst has great link-up play. Oh, Weghorst does this well. We're just doing it to make ourselves feel better. But the fact is, Weghorst is extremely slow. When Rashford is breaking, when Antony's breaking, when our defense goes from a defensive phase to an attacking phase, Weghorst is extremely slow. There's parts of his game that is really good, but that's not good enough. Good is not good enough. That's what Ten Hag says. So why do we accept mediocrity? It's not even just bad criticism. It's just calling things as it is. We should have got João Felix in essence. And if we were serious, Alice, we should have got João Felix and Weghorst. Let's be honest. We should have got 100%. Both, because look at what happened with the Eriksen situation. And is the Glazers looking at the club and thinking, is it worth getting a João Felix? Because are we going to end up winning any big trophy? Let's be honest. Are we going to win the Europa League with Wout Weghorst? It's the probability is a bit low. Nobody can tell me. Marcus Rashford is the only player carrying Manchester United from a goals perspective right now. We're not even creating that many goals other than Rashford getting his goals. So I think the Glazers... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's a bit worrying, do you think, that all the goals are coming through Rashford? It feels like if Rashford gets injured, like, we're so overly reliant on him. Like Casemiro in midfield, we saw it. I do worry if something happens to Rashford, where are the goals coming from?
Yeah, 100%. But then I also think, now is the time. That's a good question. Where is the goals coming from? But I think if Rashford, God forbid, touch wood, if Rashford gets injured, I think we will create more. Rashford isn't a creator. He's a goal scorer. He's a direct threat on goal. He's a direct threat to fullbacks. Whereas if Rashford was out of that position, and for example, if Rashford played in the middle, you'll instantly see more creativity because we will have creative wingers. We'll have the likes of Pellistri, Antony, we'll have the likes of Jadon Sancho, we'll have the likes of Garnacho. These are all creators. They're not direct goal scorers. They're not. They all love to create. Jadon Sancho, pass and move. Garnacho, pass and move. Antony, pass and move. All of these are pass and move players. Pellistri, he loves to cross on his right foot from the right wing. Because of Pellistri as well, you see Dalot overlapping as well. So it's more creative flair that comes in because of those players. So I think at the moment, we're getting all the goal from Marcus Rashford, rightly so, because he's there. We should utilize him. But I do think Rashford should go in the middle, and the odd game, anyways, he should go in the middle because he's so good in front of goal at the moment. We should utilize that and create more goals. If Rashford plays on the wing, right, we'll score maybe 1 goal, 2 goal. But if Rashford plays in the middle, I guarantee you we create a bunch of chances. A bunch. You saw the little spell from Sancho, what chances we created.
It's brilliant.
That's what I mean. So if we can play Rashford in the middle and Sancho on the left and maybe Garnacho or Antony, whoever on the right, I think we'll create more goals or more chances.
Yeah. You make a good point there, because I was saying in my watch-along, I said as soon as their course comes off, we're all of a sudden creating more chances. But could it be because Pellestri's on the right, Sancho's on the left, Rashford's in the middle, that we're actually creating more? Because I said, like, I look about their course and I said, like, we're not creating enough for him. And my sympathy with him is that he's not getting enough created for him. However, Martial, although he's made of glass, Martial won't have anything created for him, but he can get a hold of the ball, link up with Rashford, and like kind of get involved. Whereas Wout, I think because he's slow, because he doesn't really suit 100% the way we play, the ball has to go to him. And my sort of argument was, well, we're not getting the ball to Wout, but as soon as he comes off, Rashford goes in the middle, Pellistri goes on the right, Sancho goes on the left. We are creating chances in the middle. I mean, Fred had about 3 chances near the end of Leeds to make it 3-2. And I was almost annoyed that we didn't win that game 3-2 in the end, because as soon as we made those substitutions, we created chance after chance after chance. And my question to you is, what is your front three starting tomorrow?
Alice, I don't want to trigger anyone. I don't want to make anyone feel like any other way. I love Jadon Sancho, but it's about time he starts. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. He needs to start. He's back.
100%.
We've given him all the patience. We've given him all the love. We're giving him all the support. We are behind him. We will support him. But Jadon Sancho must start tomorrow. It is crucial for us to start. He's creative. You saw how he was doing against Leeds as soon as he came on. I actually enjoyed how Jadon Sancho almost invites pressure to him and then still manages to pass the ball, which is such a great attribute. You can't buy these things from players. He invites 2 defenders onto him, and he takes 2 defenders out of the box, only to go and find Luke Shaw. And the money, or Jadon Sancho's money is he passes and moves, and that gives him the goal. I need that tomorrow, because that's how you beat teams like Leeds, who will be pressing. Obviously, the fans will be behind them. They will have the confidence as well on top of it. When Bruno Fernandes or Sabitzer or whoever's playing in the midfield are finding you, it's Jadon Sancho who can soak up the pressure, who can soak up the press, and that's what we need. I think I'd go with Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, and I'm not starting Pellistri still. I think it's still a bit of time before we go deep dive into it. But I really think this is where Garnacho will shine even more. I love the emotion this guy brings to the pitch. I love emotional players. I love players who play their heart out on the pitch and leave it all out. And those are the players who can express themselves the most. Someone said Bruno on the right. Please, God forgive. I do not want to see Bruno Fernandes on the right. In moments, it's understandable. But for Bruno Fernandes to hold a position, oh my! If Bruno Fernandes can hold a position, I think he deserves an award. Let's be honest. If he can hold his position, he never really holds his position. So let him be the free roaming 10 that he likes to be.
No one to play in midfield either if Bruno
Nobody
on the right.
So yeah, and Bruno does so much in the midfield defensively. I'd rather keep him in the in the midfield. He wins the ball back at least when he tries. If he loses, he can come back quick enough. So leave him on the middle. But it has to be, for me, Garnacho, because there's actually nobody else. I don't have any other choice or viable choice. So for me, it's Sancho, Rashford, and Garnacho.
Yeah, I mean, if I think
whichever way you
injured.
put Sancho, whichever way you put Sancho and Garnacho, because I know people like, oh my God, Garnacho on the right. So yeah, I mean, Sancho's polished enough to play on the right as well.
I think I would probably do Sancho right, Garnacho left, just because I think that Sancho could offer that creativity to Rashford, and Garnacho's younger, and I think I wouldn't play him out of position, especially because I think his confidence might be a bit knocked because people were massively overreacting the other day. My feeling is I think Antony is injured, but I would have done Sancho left, Rashford up top, Antony on the right, because I thought versus Leeds, I could really see that we missed Antony. Antony gets a lot of stick from this fan base, but he actually offers, I think, so much more than people realise. As soon as he doesn't play, we become so one-dimensional. You know, like Rashford on the right just doesn't do it. But also, like, the thing about Antony is, I look at his games and I always get Sofa score up in my watch longs, half-time, full-time reactions. And Antony will have like 60 touches for a winger. And, you know, Rashford, who will score 2 goals, might have like 28 touches. You know, one thing Antony does is he's always getting the ball, holding the ball, playing, but he's tracking back a lot. Very good defensively, does his work. And yeah, like his shots and some of his passes aren't coming off and he's not always beating his man. And, you know, he will improve. And I always feel like with Antony, in my opinion, he's a player, like a product player, in the sense of he's almost like the final signing. Because I think when you look at him at Ajax, he plays as a team. He links up with the team. He's a product player. And I think when Ten Hag gets that big striker in, you know, in the summer, and maybe gets that midfielder in, and he's got his team, and we're playing like we did at Ajax, I think Antony will be even better. But without Antony, sorry,
can I break down the Antony bit just a bit more, if you don't mind?
Yeah,
just a little bit more. And I'm gonna refer to the Leeds game. What happened with Ayling on one side, and then, you know, what do you call it, Rashford on the right hand side.
Yeah.
What did we see? You see, when you have Antony and Rashford playing, one player is so direct, he's always going to have his fullback on his toes. Whereas one player who's so stop, start, slow the attack down, right? That the other side of the pitch, you're going to get more creativity out of. But when you have 2 direct players, you don't have anybody to slow the game down. You don't have anybody that will start the play. And that's what we saw against Leeds. You saw Garnacho extremely direct on one side, but then in hindsight, you don't have another player who can balance that out. You have Rashford, who is also extremely direct. And I love that you mentioned the word one-dimensional, because that's what we were. We have too much directness on both wings. We needed one player who's direct and one player who can slow the game down, because how do you see Man United play the best football? The best football Man United play is when Antony stops and passes it to Bruno, Casemiro to Bruno, Bruno to Antony, Antony to Weghorst, Weghorst to, you know, those one-touch passes or two-touch passes. And then you might see Bruno to Rashford or Luke Shaw to Rashford, and then Rashford directly through on goal. You must be able to confuse the opposition's back line. When the opposition's back line knows that actually both sides are going to be direct, well, we don't need to worry about it too much. They're only going to play direct football. Just be physical, tackle them, put the ball out, and you'll be okay. And I think that's what we really missed. And this is why I say so much that Antony is so important and pivotal to this system of Ten Hag. Forget about him as a player, because let's be honest, we've got Jack Grealish on the other side absolutely stinking it up, but nobody says anything at all. Literally. But Antony so pivotal to this team from a defensive and attacking perspective. I hope that Man United fan base see that now and actually praise him a little bit more when he comes back.
Yeah, me too. I think he gets way too much stick, and it really annoys me, because it's like I'll see Antony have an all right game. Like, he might not be a 10 out of 10, he might not get a goal or assist, but I'll see him make a few key passes, I'll see him dribble past his man, make things happen. And I'm like, Antony, I'd say it was probably a 7 out of 10. I thought it was good. And then people would be like, Antony's shit, Antony's shit, Antony's shit. And I'm like, I don't think people understand the type of player he is, and he's a system player. As you're saying, like he's doing his job for the system. I think he will get better as he establishes a relationship with the right back. There's not a consistent striker as well. I think, if we do get a consistent striker in and we play patterns of play a more Ajax way, he will get better. But he's a system player. And then people were slating on Antony so much. And as you said, Antony this season has more goals than Jack Grealish. Antony is 5 years younger than Jack Grealish, cost £15 million less than Jack Grealish, has more goals than Jack Grealish already in less minutes playing for a less creative side. And then I watched this video on TikTok of someone rating the top 10 Premier League players, top 10 most expensive Premier League players, giving them a rating out of 10. And he goes, Jack Grealish, 8 out of 10, helps City win the Premier League. I'm not even lying. And then he goes, Antony, 0 out of 10, dead signing. And Antony had played 7 games, and you're giving him a 0 out of 10. He's younger than Jack Grealish, like, was cheaper, got more goals than him. But this guy's saying Jack Grealish 8 out of 10. And I thought, what is it, because he's English? Is it because City won the league? They would have won the league last season without Grealish. Let's be honest, he did fuck all. And I think the stick that Antony get, honestly, it absolutely infuriates me. And I just wanted to bring up this comment that I saw here from Shokat Khan. I thought, as we're talking about Wout Weghorst, how he doesn't really link up. He doesn't link up with Rashford. And I thought, when we started versus Leeds, it was a left winger, a striker, and a right winger. It wasn't a front three. It was 3 individuals that weren't really playing together. And then I thought when we made the subs, it was a front three kind of connecting with each other. And one thing I noticed was Luke Shaw, Sancho, and Rashford, that second half, but I thought were absolutely fantastic. They were linking up well, Sancho especially. And I just think, once I think Antony can get that relationship with the right back and the striker and all that as well, I think Antony will be a part of that. I think we're just playing so individual. And I don't know what your thoughts were like on general in the Leeds game. Shaw, Rashford, Sancho, like who particularly impressed you?
I think Luke Shaw definitely impressed me a lot recently, but then it is contract season, and it is we know Luke Shaw turns up whenever it's a contract season. But nonetheless, I hope it's not just a patch of this season, because let's be honest, I'm going to be critical on Luke Shaw. He's been here many, many years. It's not just 2 years in; he's over 5 years in. He's here, but I really like Luke Shaw's. You know what? One thing that I really love Luke Shaw for that people will not credit him for. That turn that he did for the Sancho goal? Yeah. Like he had the ball in the half space and he just turned and left 2 Leeds players for dust. And he went, he found Shaw. Shaw found, Sancho. Sancho found him. And then obviously Sancho ended up getting that goal. That turn, that is where Luke Shaw makes his bread and butter. That's his money. I love Malacia. I probably love Malacia the most out of everyone here. But Malacia doesn't have that in him just yet. I think maybe he's just climatizing to the league and just the game in its own. But Luke Shaw, that ballsy move at that time to turn instead of passing back, taking the easiest option and passing it to Martinez and Varane. He said, I'm going to take the game by the scruff of the neck. I'm going to turn these players and I'm going to go. And that's how the goal came. And I love that from him. On top of that, Luke Shaw is so good in tight spots. He doesn't panic. And this is again, his bread and butter. Malacia, fantastic player, love him to bits, but he wants to take the ball, release. And that's fine. That may be an instructional thing from Ten Hag. But Luke Shaw, when you have a winger, like Sancho, again, very good technically, and you have someone like Luke Shaw, again, who's decent technically, it helps so much. And that's where we created that goal. That's how the goal came about. I hope this Luke Shaw can continue developing like this. I do think, though, that he needs to put some more crosses in when we have Weghorst on the pitch. I just would prefer that. He just doesn't cross enough for me. Same with Dalot, same with Bissaka. I just don't see them crossing enough. But again, that just might be a instructional thing from Ten Hag. But overall, I'm very, very happy with Luke Shaw. He still doesn't have an engine like Malacia, though. He doesn't have the 90-minute engine like Malacia would do. Yeah. But I still like Luke Shaw, especially this season. He's been very good.
Yeah, I always think as well, Luke Shaw offers so much going forward, as you're saying, takes risks, the runs he makes, the dribbles he makes. I think versus City, he got his goal, just made a brilliant dribble. I think what I like about Luke Shaw is when he's good, like he has been incredibly inconsistent, but his first season was good. Obviously, there was a leg break. Then he had that really good season under Ollie, you know, when the Euros was going on, and then he's had a really good season this season. But when he's good, he's almost one of our most important attacking players. I always think in terms of he just drives forward, he gets the ball forward, he moves the ball forward, and like that's what I like about him. I think Malacia actually, you know, people say it's the other way around, but I always think like Malacia is defensively very solid, and I always think that he's better defensively. But I actually think that Luke Shaw, when he's on it, like going forward, is like a big, like important player for United. And we just got a super chat here saying, I am happy with most United players apart from Wout. Wout tries best, but we need a better striker. Also, people say no service for Wout. Garnacho gave an assist to McTomminay last season, so Wout needs to run faster. Need a new number 9 as well. Adding to that, what's your thoughts on Ronald's comment there? Cheers for the chat.
People say no service for Wout. Garnacho gave an assist to McTomminay last season, so Wout isn't gonna run faster. That's not possible. We can't train him to run faster. We can't play football around Wout. Let's be honest, he's not our best player. You always play to your best player's abilities, which is in essence Casemiro. In essence, it's Rashford. You play around them. Wout just needs to continue to do what he does, which is link up really well, bring others into play. I think my thing with Wout would be just be a bit more clinical in front of goal in terms of take a bit of risk, have that shot, make the keeper work. I mean, can any of us sit here and remind me if Wout has made the keeper work since he's joined Manchester United? Any keeper? I think except for the one goal he's had, I don't see him shooting as a striker. I don't see him dribbling as a striker. I don't see him turning a player and be a bit direct in front of the box. He just links up and passes the ball well, and that's great, but that's only half the job. Once you've linked up, you now need to go forward and be in the box. And by the time he gets there, the attack is been and finished, and it's a goal kick. But what can you do, right? Like I always say, he's a Glazer signing. There's nothing we can do. When before Wout came in, we said, "Give us anyone, please, Glazers, give us anyone." Well, you got your anyone. So I'll just take one game at a time with him. Whatever he can give, I'll just thank him for, because there's nothing else I can say. He's not going to stay here. You saw Ten Hag with Sabitzer. I think 72 hours later, reports came out that Sabitzer will be permanent in Manchester United. They will look to make him permanent. You will not hear anything like that about Wout. You won't.
Yeah. Talking about signings, okay, let's say Qatari owners come in, Glazer's out, best case scenario, who would you be going for in that transfer window?
My number one priority, okay, Wout Vegas is gone. Antony Martial is gone. So we cannot have number 1, number 2, number 3. We have at least 4 or 5 very important signings. But this has to be a pair. I need a brand new striker, and I need Frankie de Jong. I need Frankie de Jong. I'm going begging for Frankie de Jong again. There is no, I don't know how Manchester United fans can sit and tell me they don't want Frankie de Jong, because I feel like they look at the player and they have the trauma of the transfer window that just gone. And I understand people. I had that trauma. I hated Frankie de Jong's guts. I hated Barca. I have to fly to Barca in a few days. I can't stand going to Camp Nou. I hate their guts. But the fact is, the one player who could take us to the next level, the elite high caliber player, is Frankie de Jong. For the age that he is, he's going to be reaching just his peak, and we want that player in our. Imagine what Frankie de Jong could add to the team. Just imagine that alone, what a Frankie de Jong and Osimhen could add to the team. So those would be my two. Yeah, if we get Qataris, I swear to God, break the bank for Musiala. Break it. Whatever, make him the most expensive signing in the world, but I don't care. Bring Musiala, because oh my goodness, yeah, this guy's on a different planet on his own.
Yeah, well, would you take Musiala over Bellingham?
Oh, who is Bellingham? Who is Jude Bellingham? Keep Jude Bellingham to Liverpool. Let him go to Liverpool. They've got their own crisis. I don't want Jude Bellingham. There are way better players for Ten Hag system. Musiala is one of them. Frankie de Jong is one of them. You have I forgot. Barella is one of them. Yeah, Malo Gusto was one that we missed out on. Madueke is one we missed out on. Go and get me a Raya, maybe, or a different keeper. But for a fact, there is better players out there than Bellingham that we can get.
I like Bellingham, but he's nowhere near a £150 million player. Dortmund can do one. I wouldn't. He's one of those players that if he was available for a good price, I'd sign. But because he's English, because he's young, he's very much let's take the piss and ask for an absolute ridiculous price for him. My opinion, I agree with Frankie de Jong being the piece to the puzzle in midfield. There's not I like Enzo Fernandez. He's gone. And there's for me, Frankie de Jong is that piece of the puzzle. But the question is, it's like, would I if Frankie de Jong wanted to come to United, without a doubt, I would go get that deal done in a second, in a heartbeat, no questions about it. I think that's the fear of de Jong doesn't want to come. If we go back into that deal, we're wasting our time, and that's the big problem. Because I think he would be perfect, but I cannot deal with Saga 2.0. But my dream, again, would be de Jong, probably Osimhen as striker. Potentially, because I think I like that he could probably link up well. He's quite diverse. I do like Ivan Toney, but I don't know what's going on with his betting scandal. Is he going to get a ban? I also really do like Vlahovic as well. I would definitely get a striker, number one. Someone like de Jong or a midfielder, number two. And then I would potentially look at, all right, do we need another midfielder? Where are the ins? Where are the outs? Where we lack of depth? Do we, is he going to sell Wan-Bissaka even though he's been good? Do we need a right back? Potentially goalkeeper as well. Is De Gea going to do what Ten Hag expects of him? And that would be sort of my way of looking at it. But just coming out now, Newcastle have drawn. Newcastle dropped points.
I knew it.
I honestly thought they were going to win against Bournemouth. Tottenham lose. Arsenal drop points. Chelsea still can't win. Chelsea still have more signings than wins this season. Unbelievable. Absolutely love it. Liverpool will probably go and embarrass themselves again. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And United, hopefully, if we get a win, when all the rivals drop points and you get a win, it feels better. But we'll actually talk about quickly Manchester City. I'm sure you're aware of the whole City FFP scandal. We all know they've been cheating. There's no way they claim they earn the most money, la-di-la-di-la-di-la. And they're companies as well, like that expect they're giving them their money. Like they just use like downloaded images that you can revert back. They're stock images. It's like you could at least try and hide it a bit better. And obviously, there's a lot of speculation over what's going to happen for Man City. Things probably won't happen for a while. News saying, obviously, if something happens, it's probably more likely to be a transfer ban than a points deduction and a relegation as of now. I mean, I'd like to see them relegated. I think we all would. Like, what's your thoughts on the City situation in the sense of what do you think will happen?
The fact is that this is unprecedented. I don't think I've ever seen something like this in my life. I don't think anybody has. 115 charges. I actually read through some of the charges as well, and they are very meticulous and dodgy, to be honest. They're very weird as to why you would miss some of those. I think knowing Man City and what they did to UEFA, and they handled UEFA, and UEFA's come out and said, well, we couldn't compete with their lawyers and etc. So it is what it is. But this time, I would want to know what the Premier League and the FA do with Man City in terms of do they paint a picture to world football that we're not, you don't do this in the Premier League. Premier League isn't just a doss about. Like, you can't flex on the Premier League. No money and lawyers can flex on the Premier League because they have charged. These are not allegations. These are charges. These are serious. So Premier League themselves have ample enough evidence that they believe that they can charge Man City. So if that's the case, that per charge that they get taken on court for, you need to penalize them accordingly. Listen, Alice and everyone, you can relegate Man City, but guess what? As much as it's fair on us, it's unfair to the championship teams. It is unfair to the League One teams. It is not fair on them. You cannot just relegate a club Man City's size down to those leagues and laugh at Man City, but then the poor other teams who are just scraping through in windows and trying to get promotion, fighting in playoffs, you want them to compete with Man City. It's not fair on them. Let's be honest. I want to call it as it is. Man City also employs so many people from Manchester. I'm from Manchester, so I think that would be an economically bad thing as well. They employ so many people in Manchester, right? So I think I would go down the route of hurting them and penalizing them internally, meaning ask them to raise 300 million from player signings. Sell players. Sell your players. The players that you brought in on these dodgy deals, sell them. Your scouting, sack some of your scouts because they've been done for bad scouting. Your management, have some penalty for your management because there's certain things that your managers for not adhere to. Fine them as in just a straight up fine. Deduct points, minus points from next season. On top of it, give them a transfer ban. There's many ways you can set Man City back years than just putting them down in championship for a laugh. Because let's be honest, they can make their way out. They have the squad to make their way out, and it's not fair on those teams down there. So hurt them internally where they will be set back for years. That's where a serious Premier League FA board should be doing.
Yeah, I actually agree. I never thought of it that way, but I really like what you say there, because they actually are kind of getting back what they kind of cheated for. They're kind of getting it. And I think I'm a big fan, and I'm not just saying this because I don't like Man City, but if Man City get away with it, look at Chelsea, look at Newcastle, they'll just do the same. There's too much money in the Premier League, too many rich owners, all these takeovers going on. And my thought process is, Man City got away with the Champions League. We all know they've cheated. They got away with it. They couldn't compete with the lawyers, as you said. The Premier League needs to stand strong, because look what Chelsea and Todd Boehly are doing, spending 600 million. Yes, they found a loophole, but they're not going to be scared of FFP if they see Man City getting away with this. 100 charges. If they get off with over 100 charges, well, then everyone else can basically cheat. You're basically saying, I think, for my opinion, Newcastle rich, Chelsea rich, they'll just start doing the same. They need to give Man City a punishment, and they need to give Man City a harsh punishment, something like you've said. I think it will probably be points deduction or transfer ban. I think that's what it will be. But I'm very much in agreement with you. Like, they've got to be punished, because this is the Premier League. There's too much money in it. We need to actually control it. What's the point of setting rules if you don't punish people that don't follow them?
Yeah, 100%. Like I say, punish them internally. Get their manager gone. Make them sell their big name players to raise money. Transfer ban, big fine, minus points this season and minus points next season as well. Those are the way you can set them back for years, and that would because if you minus points from next season, they might not end up in Europe. And that's a big problem on its own. And then you're giving them a transfer ban as well. So yeah, there's many ways to penalize them. But we'll see. The charges are a lot of 100 plus is unprecedented.
It's going to take a while to see what happens. And
it's going to take years. It's going to take years.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be shocked if they got away with it, just because it's Man City and we know that happens. But they've been looking at this for 4 years, over 100 charges. The Premier League have to stand strong, and this will then just send a message to everyone else. It's got to be harsh as it is. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up today's video, but do you want to add anything before I end, Faz?
No, just thank you for having me, and I hope we can go and get our 3 points tomorrow. I think tomorrow will be actually tougher than what we played in Old Trafford, because once again, confidence is shot on Garnacho, confidence is shot on Fred. Sabitzer is still, I don't think, would be ready to play starting minutes, but he has to. I don't know if Bissaka's back as well. Confidence is shot on Diego Dallo as well. That's 3 players. I've just named 3 or 4 players that have confidence shot from just one game. So Ten Hag has to do a lot of work to try and bring our mentality and our desire, motivation back, because it is a derby game. It's not just any normal game. And Chris Armas and his team, I don't know who his team is, but it looked like Leeds have 5 managers. There were so many people on the dugout. I was confused in the technical area, but I think it'll be a really tough team. I think we might win it, scrape a 2-1 win, and I hope we do. But yeah, thank you for having me as always.
Yeah, I think we will beat them. I feel like we're just destined to get our revenge. And I know no Casemiro, but I think Ten are very motivated for it. Obviously, I know you do your own content, Faz. Do you want to tell the viewers where they can find you?
Yeah, you can just find me on Planet Faz on all platforms, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I do regular live streams. I go to every Manchester United game, whether that be men's, women, and youth games as well. I try and go to every game, and bring loads of content from the stadium, outside the stadium, and everything as well. And I do regular live streams as well. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, big up. Definitely go check out Faz because he's going to all the games, gets behind the scenes and full-time whistle scenes and all of that as well. Please do hit that like button, guys, on your way out. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. We will be live for a Leeds watch along tomorrow. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.